And what I want to talk to you about today is the importance of precedent in game, both in terms of actual precedent of what has come before in a set, what has come before in a relationship, what has come before in your life, and implied precedent, meaning what your actions or what a series of events imply about your history. Both are very powerful concepts for improving yourself socially and improving the way that you walk through the world and improving your game. So, first of all, precedent. What is precedent? Precedent just means the idea that what has come before is what you should likely expect in the future, right? For example, if I drop a coin, I expect it to fall to the ground. Why? Because throughout my life, every single time I've dropped a coin, it's fallen to the ground, right? It's precedent. We also have scientific principles to explain it and ideas, but if the precedent were ever violated, we'd have to change those ideas, right? So the precedent is the starting point a lot of times. And the fact of the matter is, people make decisions based on precedents rather than on reality very, very, very often. So, for example, if you're meeting someone new and you find out a few things about them that you can relate to other things, say like, for example, I'm a soccer player. If I find out someone plays soccer, now I'm putting them in the category of everyone who I've known before who's played soccer. So that puts them in a different group than they were in before, and it allows me to relate to them in a different way. It's a shortcut. Are they necessarily like every other soccer player I've met? Absolutely not. In fact, probably not. But it's a shortcut I use along with all the other little shortcuts and bits of information that I have to figure out as best I can what this person is about, okay? So we don't look at the whole situation. We look at shortcuts for the situation, all right? So that's an idea of precedent. Another way of looking at precedent is within the context of a relationship, right? What is the difference between having a girlfriend versus having kind of a cute girl who you have some like physical chemistry with, right? The difference is with a girlfriend, you have history. With a girlfriend, you have a set of expectations. You have routines, habits, rituals that you have done with her. And that makes it so that you have a set of expectations for what's gonna happen in the future, right? And a lot of times you can even become slaves of that expectation, which we'll talk about in a second. But let's look at a few hypothetical examples. First off, let's say you had a friend who every single time you meet him brings you $100. First of all, keep him. You want friends like that, that's awesome. But let's say for 50 days in a row, he brings you $100. So what is that, 5 grand he's giving you? Kinda nice. So he's giving you all this money and he shows up on day 50 plus 1 and he brings you $25. How are you gonna feel about that? Are you gonna feel cheated that he didn't bring you $100? Probably, right? Probably you're not actually gonna feel happy that he brought you the money. You'll feel sad that he didn't bring you more money because you've come to expect a certain amount, right? Contrast that to a friend who you've just hung out with 50 times just because you like each other, and then day 50 plus 1 he brings you $25, you'd be ecstatic. You'd be so thrilled, so pleased, so happy. What's the difference? He didn't establish that expectation of more. And so the exact same action, the bringing of $25, is perceived in a completely different way given the two different contexts, okay? Now, you're gonna be very careful of this in your own relationships because every relationship is based on that precedent. So, if you wanna see a girl sporadically, just hook up with her and not have it be a big deal, you probably shouldn't start out by seeing her every single day for a week straight. Because in that case, you're establishing one precedent and then following through with another. There's gonna be some resistance to that. There's gonna be a point where she goes, wait, this is wrong, this is not what I bargained for. You set up one expectation and then you violated it and went with something else. There's gonna be resistance. Maybe she'll either like confront you with it or she'll break up or you'll have a fight or whatever, all right? Another one similar to that guys fall into is say that they just wanna have a normal, chill girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, just normal average guy, but they start out by courting a girl by buying her $300 dinners, right? It's not something they can even sustain or afford probably for a normal guy, but they start out doing it, and then that expectation is established where she expects you to be this rich guy who will treat her, who will take her to these expensive ass dinners and will do everything for her. And then it's gonna be very, very hard to get out of that frame because that's the frame that was established. And if you start violating that frame, she's gonna start to feel like you lied to her, you violated the premise of the relationship. So subconsciously, she's gonna resist that very, very strongly. So be very careful about the premises or the precedents that you start your relationships on. Be very careful that you begin with the end in mind. Think to yourself what it is you actually want in terms of a relationship. Think to yourself what it is you actually want from a girl, and then train them accordingly. don't train them for something else. If you establish an expectation of giving a girl the world and then she expects the world, you know what? It's your fucking fault for creating that expectation. So don't do that. All right? Another manifestation of precedent in game is the idea of implied precedent. And a lot of game revolves around implied precedent, a lot of gamey tactics, right? The idea that you can be dismissive towards a girl, why is that an attractive quality? Well, it means that, or it implies that, by precedent, you have enough girls in your life that you can be dismissive, because if you didn't have girls, you wouldn't be able to do that. It also implies that when you've been dismissive before, people have It also implies that when you've been dismissive before, people have accepted that, right? And someone accepting you being dismissive means that they're accepting you having higher status, higher value. So again, it's implied higher value. So you want to act as if whatever the situation you would like it to be is already the case. Act as if you're already dating her when you start meeting her, and that way you'll set the precedent that for the relationship that you want. Or act as if you've already got her, you're already dating her before you meet her, and that way it will just seem natural when you guys get physical together, when things escalate to the next level, right? Rather than clunky, rather than awkward, rather than weird. So act as if what you want to be true is already true. Other examples of implying higher value. Let's say that you meet someone and you happen to get on well with them physically, and you do the dance of physical escalation very well. What is that implying about you? It's implying that A, you'll be good in bed, but also it's implying that you've had situations with girls before, and that's how you know, right? That you've learned this somehow. You've been pre-selected in some way by other girls. So a lot of social value, a lot of the situational cues that people are picking up on are actually implied precedent, right? There's this assumption that if you're doing this, something else must have happened in your life, right? That you must have had a certain range of life experiences, and that in and of itself makes you valuable, makes you pre-selected, okay? So be conscious of that. Use it to your advantage wherever it's possible. On the flip side, don't become a victim of precedent, all right? A lot of us get into situations, whether it be with girls, with our job, anywhere in our life, where we find ourselves in a routine, right? And we just go through that routine day after day, close our eyes, turn off our mind, walk through the routine, simply because it's a routine. Now, sometimes routines are established for good reasons, right? If your routine is going to the gym, that's a good routine. It's established for a good reason. However, even there, if your routine is go to the gym and do the same workout every single day, you may not be optimizing. So be aware of the times when you're falling into routines, and think about whether the routine is actually helping you, whether the routine is actually in alignment with your current goals and your current beliefs. Because a lot of times you'll find that maybe you've changed as a person, you've outgrown a particular routine, or maybe the routine came from somewhere else, especially within the context of a relationship. Sometimes the routine came from something someone else was doing that forced you into it rather than something you were doing yourself, right? So anytime that you're in a routine situation, anytime that you find you're closing your eyes and forgetting part of your day because it's so monotonous and so everyday, think to yourself about how you can improve it, how you can change it, how you can enhance it, right? Even say, take the routine of driving to work. Can you maybe put an audiobook in that's going to help you learn to make your drive more memorable? Or can you maybe make phone calls during that drive to be more productive, right? Find ways that you can take these routine parts of your life, make them better rather than getting trapped into them, all right? So routine, own your routines, understand your precedents, don't let your routines own you.